How's it going, everybody? We are almost done setting up. Chris Sweener is coming soon. We have a bunch of interesting guests here, so really can't wait to get started. This is the first time we've done this live and in person, so forgive us while we get these technical difficulties ironed out. And there's also planes flying over constantly, so it's part of the Miami experience. Yeah, you can say that.
How you doing, everybody? This is JT with JT Invest in You. What's going on?
That's nice. Okay, so it works? Yep.
Mic check.
If we don't want echo, I can actually have an AirPod in.
Oh, we got 4 people on YouTube watching too.
Yeah, share around this link real quick.
The intro. If you're watching on YouTube, we're going to see an intro. All right, we got... I've got a refreshing beverage somewhere. Ah, there we go.
This is too perfect, honestly.
Here, hold that.
All right. All right, we got chips over here. We got stuff.
I was flying in with all your stuff. All right, and will you ask anybody that wants to... They might be able to hear me.
They can hear you.
All right. Hey, if you guys want to be... if anybody wants to chime in, be a speaker, raise your hand or request, and we might be able to hear you if we're lucky.
Do you want me to have this in, or would you rather hear it? There might be an echo, though. I think it would be better if we heard it. Yeah, we won't be able
sneaker selling, you know, yeah. I've never been into that game, but.
It says I'm still connected to this.
I feel like so many people can't hear it. The other people like weird sounds because.
Okay. We have deep-voiced man, Daisy, if you do, was speaking. He's a bit camera shy right now, but that's okay. We're not going to We're not going to peer pressure him too much. Should we just go? Should we just like go ahead with it? It's been a while. 4:30.
I'm gonna coin that.
I think they can hear again.
Swingers outside. Yeah,
and we got Chris Winter coming in. We got the big guns coming in. We're ready to go. Again, thank you all for being here. It means a lot. This pre-Decipher, pre-event, pre-game. Yeah, the pre-event for the pre-event. Crypto Queen. Yeah. If you're on YouTube, maybe you might just want to put the sound on the Twitter and watch on the YouTube. Chris Swenner. Hey, we got a free seat over here on camera. I'm going to take that, Chris. You're good. Being off camera, fine. Hey. Yeah, sure. You sit there because I think Mosh is going to sit right there.
You can all squeeze.
You can squeeze as well. Whatever you want.
Whatever you want to do.
When are you getting done?
What?
When did you get to town?
I got into town this morning. Or actually, like 9 in the morning.
Mm-mm.
Is it started?
Oh, yeah, we're live. We're just technically... We technical difficulties with sound on YouTube. Just having people shuffle in. Already have a audience here. We want to get going. But the audience is full on Twitter Spaces. Thank you all for being here.
Oh, hi. Everybody's out and on. What's going on, JT? Hey, JT. How you doing? JT invests. Yeah. You got it. The one. And like, this is the problem with Twitter is that everybody has like a PFP for.
No, so I guess when we really get into the combo, guys, just put up a finger or something if you want to make a comment, just so we can have everyone like be nice and clear. All right, we got enough of the. I think we're ready to go. Okay, so if you can hear on YouTube, we're ready to go. Again, thank you all for being on YouTube. We're going to talk about on this Algofam chat is iYieldly. I led into it before. Well,
exactly.
Sounds like Chris
Sounds
is.
like a question, huh? Yeah, I'll talk about it. I don't know what it is, but I'll talk about it. Yeah. Tell me what it is.
Well, I'm gonna give the overview. I'm gonna need Daisy to give the underview, or the interview.
What's the underview of an overview?
The underview, and I'm coming at it from the press release.
The over under. Okay.
Yeah. iYieldly is Yieldly's new governance token. They've decided to release a governance token called iYieldly, which will allow people to continue staking Yieldly and vote in the protocol with the second token. So we're going to get to it. Let me get Daisy to give the breakdown, and then we'll question.
Let's get Chris's questions first.
You know Chris's questions?
The governance was always in the plan. We just didn't always know it was going to be IU, right?
So let me hand it over to Chris.
I'll ask questions. He's going to answer.
I don't know if I have the answers for your questions.
Hey, everybody. On YouTube. Plane flying overhead. Okay. So I heard about iYieldly for the first time. And
You didn't read the roadmap then?
I did not read the roadmap. But what's the point of Yieldly if not a governance token?
Would it not be a utility token?
To do what?
To get other assets, to swap for other assets, to...
Well, that doesn't make sense. Like what exactly, what is the utility that it provides?
What is... So as the Yieldly token is the Yieldly token provides. So certain other assets, such as the partner token. So you stake into that. You get a partner token, yes?
Why?
What do you mean why?
What's the incentive to do that?
There's 4 partners right now that are doing it. Arc's doing it, Opulus is doing it,
you stake
Xfinite's
Yieldly.
doing it, and
And just for staking Yieldly,
Smile's doing it, and then Toys Coin's doing it, Gem's Coin. So there's 7 projects. You know, essentially every that's coming on board of this capital is going to end up on Yieldly. So I don't know why I don't
why don't they just airdrop
airdrop what
the token?
the Yieldly.
No.
Oh,
Why don't they, like these Opulus and all these other, why don't they just, like, I don't see the value of staking Yieldly to get something.
because there's X amount of people that are using Yieldly. I would like you're asking me to like explain Yieldly's business model and why they're successful and why they have there's only their dApps are on Algorand right now. Like if you want to use Algorand, what can you do?
There's the lottery from Yieldly.
Yep.
There's Tiny Man.
Yep.
What's that? There's an airplane going over.
We can't hear whoever's speaking, by the way, on the Twitter Spaces. You're way too quiet.
Plans definitely exist, but you don't really do anything on there. Like,
Yeah, so
they have a dashboard now that you can log into and see different things.
okay.
So
Comment saying we're way too quiet, so when you just pass the mic back and forth.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
So yeah, I can stop that. Good.
It says is yield staking not a case use case?
But why token yield farm? Like I understand.
Well, this is great. Liquidity providing incentive staking is coming with Tiny Man, with partners. So
Why wouldn't Tiny Man just do that? A farming feature on Tiny Man.
Tiny Man's not doing it, but they're not. Yieldly is.
But so like it would make sense that Yieldly would provide. I mean, but once again, I don't understand where, like, I don't get it. But that's okay.
Yeah. Well, I think we're all gonna be. One second. Fortunate enough to hear from the Yieldly team this weekend. You can ask these questions to Seb and them directly. I'm sure.
Jump in here. I'm going to give the audience a bit of context on iYieldly. Reading from the Yieldly. It's all related.
So to me, Yieldly would make sense if that was a governance token, because then you can actually vote on things and you can get rewardings on it to be able to vote what the thing. But creating a completely different governance token removes, in my mind,
So Sweener says creating a completely new governance token for Yieldly. Quoting from this article on Medium from Yieldly. Q1 2022 dependencies not applicable. Work involved, mint and token. Can they hear me?
You can. I can see it.
The government token Yieldly. iYieldly will grant voting rights to holders to propose governance actions, modify various parameters, and arrive at consensus. Anyone who has interacted with Yield to all who opted in prior to this.
What's your name? Daisy. Okay, great. So, you're saying, I don't want to explain Yieldly's business model to you. And I think what great is that you as a consumer of Yieldly or of Yieldly, and their business. So, if you're going to say reasons for the exact same reason that you're that confusing, because if they're both valuable for the same reason, why are there two?
I can't answer. I'm not really sure. I feel like to reset the tokenomics of Yieldly, or else just from an outsider's perspective, it sounds like they didn't get the code right on the with this new one.
That's a really pessimistic view. Code right on the Yieldly. So I would agree. The reasons that I have been told, why Yieldly and iYieldly are going to be separate products. One being the one is, right now you have to stake Yieldly to be getting any benefit from it. If you need to you're going to lose that. Come on in. So we got in, or okay? So if you have to unstake your Yieldly to participate in governance, that would be an issue. Two, they already have a pre-existing set of tokenomics and partners and how all that protocol is going to work. And tweaking that with the governance token they saw would be easier to split it. The third is there are, thousands of us Yieldly holders that have been participating in Yieldly since June. They think it would be cool to airdrop all these individuals those tokens. There's a fourth reason why I can't, off the top of my head, remember it right now.
You already have the value.
Yeah, see, I see what Daisy's saying. I also see both sides. We just got Cody.
No, Decentralized.
Oh, sorry. I don't know. Everyone's a non. I don't know. Sorry. I thought one person was another person. Please introduce yourself, man. Here, give it over to you.
What's going on, guys? My name is Keatley Haldeman. I'm CEO of Decentralized. We're a decentralized music licensing platform.
Perfect.
Great to be here.
iYieldly was just announced.
Okay.
It's the governance token of Yieldly.
Okay, great. I just got into Yieldly very recently, so I'm diving in and trying to learn more. So I'll just sit here and listen to you guys.
The timing was good.
Yeah. No comment?
No.
I think we don't know about how iYieldly is going to work. I mean, we know it's a good governance token, clearly, but we may be speculating a bit too much here. I want to see how they execute first before we jump into any criticisms. It's definitely an unorthodox move to have a utility token and a governance token. I'll give it back to Swenner.
Just to be clear, I'm criticizing. I'm just asking questions. I like everybody here, am curious at how people implement tokenomics and just work with blockchain together, all together. And this, to me, is something new that I like. I think it was one of those things. It goes against my preconceived notions of what YieldD was in the first place. Because to me, it was, the YieldD was the government's token, and the idea is that when the DAO was created, the YieldD would be used as the voting mechanism of the DAO. But what is the government? That's the thing I'm doing.
I think there's not a lot of new products that are part of the roadmap. The NFT marketplace, which this will help run. So you'll be able to buy and sell NFTs via YieldD. So is that maybe? Yes, no. Dr. J.
We got Jay.
I agree with Chris that I don't have a strict criticism either. The only thing that I would say is that if it's unclear to us who are going to be experts in this space, who would be reading these roadmaps and being able to really understand and articulate what the value and vision behind this new move is, if it's hard for us to understand what that is, then I think that is a little bit of a criticism to be different than the YieldD one. I think of it as, one of the great things, a good business elevator pitch, we get you there faster. You know what I mean? That's a great motto for cars and planes, these wonderful planes flying overhead. You know what I mean? So what is the elevator pitch? If I have a request for them, give me a really great elevator pitch piece.
So I think the piece of iYieldly that we've missed is the fact that it's being redistributed, not one on who holds YieldD right now. It's based distribution in part on how much interaction you've had with the site. And so the users are being rewarded and given some power instead of just some whales, I think. And that is a noble cause. I'm not sure of the execution and the release and how that's going to get, pushed out, but the sentiment is there, and users reallocation of some of the governance. And for that, I applaud them. Whether or not it's going to be successful or not, I recognize that that's the effort and that's the purpose. Now, whether or not they can execute that. Final. Yep.
I just want to comment on this last. Thing you mentioned.
And then I think we should move on.
I agree that we should move on. Chris did a really bad acting us from the interesting question of what's different about YieldD, and you brought up the interesting thing, right? Mm-hmm. Which is that obvious thing to do with vision is to base it off how things were before. Mm-hmm. And doing it based on activity is a very new, novel thing. Whenever I think about these new novel things, I like to ask the question, what if we did this sort of thing, but in the real world, So for instance, favorite theory, right, is the French Revolution. So in the French Revolution, we have people, there's a lot of landowners, mm-hmm. They're the whales, right? Have the capital.
They redistributed the land, okay.
And then you have the revolution, and what it does is it tries to redistribute it based on sort of use of the land. Occurs to me immediately when I think of this idea about redistributing it based on the use.
Yeah.
And this reminds me of one of my favorite quotes of Deng Xiaoping, which was when asked about whether the French Revolution was a good idea or not, he said, I don't know, it's too early to tell. And Deng Xiaoping, of course. So I think that it's a really interesting idea that they're trying, and I'd like to see where it goes.
Yeah, I agree. Dr. J, that
in my mind, the simplest way to distribute iYieldly is to have it be a you would want it to have the same tokenomics, same distribution. So because if someone provides and takes out and provides and takes out and provides and takes out using a bot, even like hundreds of times per week, that person, if they're distributing the rewards in that way, that person will have a much higher stake, even though they could have had a much less of the pool.
Where's that bot right now?
Yeah, I mean,
Too late. So per the blog post. When the
Yeah.
cutoff
Too late.
or is it how much Yieldly you own, you'll get more, or is it? Do you?
Based on like the nerd explained, they explained it. But once again, we'll see how it's done.
So it's based on they say activity. What is activity?
Let's
Like,
talk about it.
looking
Let's
at the
talk
site?
about Algowana's
Is it
activity.
time looking at the site?
Let's
We'll move on.
Let's move on to the Algowana thing.
We'll move on to the Algowana news.
Where is this news?
I think it's news because it came out yesterday.
Yeah.
Algorand 1 purchased for 111,000 algo about 2 weeks ago, launched a site yesterday called Algorand 1, which they are starting a tree planting initiative where you don't need to necessarily buy an Algorand to plant trees, which I'm sure many people are priced out of Algorands at this point. You can just donate 5 algo to plant trees. I was speaking with Benji from Algorand yesterday because on the Algorand 1 site, it's called algorand001.com. They say they've already planted 30,000 trees. That's the figure that Algorand is also touting. So I said, what's the difference between these two projects? He said, there's not much difference. You can donate to plant trees. I guess my question, why do we need a whole new thing?
Why is that news?
What is it?
Right. I mean, I dig the NFT for a cause. Clearly, the crypto partnered with Climate Trade for, to donate to projects for, to raise awareness and make things carbon negative. So I'm behind the cause. I'm just not sure that the website was needed. Maybe
Yes, can I chime in on that? Yeah.
Motivate the community instead of just creating a website. I think like just have some kind of just like a new project, have some kind of functionality or some community behind it, or
Can I throw in on that, guys? Can you hear me?
the group. Are there some other perks or something? It just seems very rare in the community where we just straight up ask for something for nothing. And it's a good cause. I mean, maybe I'll just go give five algos for it anyway. But it just seems unusual to me.
Right. And it seems like, I mean, they've branded this Algorand number 1, Gilbert the Goanna. They're trying to make it into. No, it's Gilbert.
Yeah.
It's not Al. It's Gilbert.
It's Gilbert. Yeah.
You ask a rule Morrigan, who started the whole thing.
I mean, I guess he owns the NFT.
Yeah.
Do whatever he wants with it.
Also brings up another question. We were chatting about this last night, off stream, but if you buy an Algorand or any other NFT like that, do you own the rights, right? Seems like a rule can have some type of influence where he could say, yeah, I own Algo merch with it. Can I start to use it for brand? Can I start to do these other things with it? Are these special privileges
Can I answer a couple of those things particularly? Can I chime in on that? Can you guys hear me?
Benefits of owning an NFT? Right. And if I get sued, then we'll know that this is a selective type of thing. Also, just seems like, like Algorand is a green blockchain. They've put a lot of work into being carbon negative with their partnership with Climate Trade and carbon credits and tracking all these carbon emissions on chain. Is tripling or quadrupling down on Algowanas really what the community needs? People compare Algowanas to Bored Apes. I don't think they're comparable because Bored Apes have 10,000 Bored Apes and there's 500 Algowanas. So the amount of people that can get into Bored Apes or CryptoPunks is much larger, 20 times larger than the amount of people in Algowanas. If they're making Algowanas the number 1 ticket into the Algorand ecosystem, only 500 people can enjoy that. What do you guys think of this?
Can I, Crypto? Can you guys hear me?
we're taking turns, so someone from reach and then someone not from reach. So you have to wait at least 2 turns.
Okay.
Okay, so the idea that only 500 people can be part of it, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Because think about the number of corporations that are out there. Like, is it the case that I can't be part of Apple because I'm not owner of the entire Apple? You know what I mean? That's not right now. The NFTs that are currently owned are owned by individuals. It is actually its own club, bridging it to more people.
Okay.
And I think that's an interesting idea.
But
And that's
they're not fractional. It's not fractional ownership of that Algorand. If it was, that would be cool. That's what I was going to say.
so it is not. But what my point is that and start reselling off slices of it, and it should just be a totally separate contract.
Then one who has this fraction, 1/1000th, that's the moral question that comes into standing. Or do you get 1/1000th of those benefits? What if those benefits aren't monetary? They're not nickel. They're like in real life. Like there was a party that was being for here in Miami, Algorand owner. If I fractionalize my Algorand to 10,000 people, can I have 10,000 people show up?
You can show up for 1 minute.
You can show up for here. I'm gonna hand it to Chris.
You know what? I love it. I love. Who's us to say this is the right or wrong thing at all? Because at the end of the day, nobody's being scammed. Nobody's going to be rug pulled. Borderless is the most, if not the most, established VCs in the entire Algorand space. Do awesome things, guys. I applaud it. I don't get it. The thing I always say, I thought Twitter was stupid when I first heard about it. Turns out I was wrong. So, and we all can be wrong, and that's the point of this. So this is actually the whole mission of Brief. It's we want more people coming into space and doing things that we don't understand, because that's how killer apps are created. Something good could come from it. So a idea, and so like, you know, a rule, if you're watching this, great job. I applaud it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, if you have an idea and you want to test it out, do it, and it's kind of a low-risk environment that a lot of people that agree with your idea and your can create their own initiatives or their own like organizations or even representing the community. They can form a DAO. It's just what the market wants. And if the market, they don't, then
Also being real, and we're asking questions that are needed, right? So never said this was a bad idea, right? I'm wondering what's how is Algorand even related? If I can just send Fago to plant, I don't even know how many trees. I also asked that to Benji. How many trees does 5 Algo get me? Because I treated than 5 Algo. So where's the rest of the 5 Algo going? And how is Gilbert the Goanna?
That's right. We had to switch.
Why is Gilbert Goanna, besides being the face of it, the mascot in Goanna 1, like, is this even a real blockchain like thing? Like, what else is there? Huh?
So this isn't like Algorand specific or Algorand specific, but anything. I mean, people have been donating trees forever. Why does their donation of any anything. You can donate money by hand. But Algorand in this case is leveraging the popularity marketing platform to get more and more people involved in doing something that's important. And I think that is like that speaks to the power of the Algorand eco as a whole too. So if we're leveraging the popularity of Algorand for good, then I think it's a great thing. Now, is it a little bit redundant in terms of like the tree planting thing? Sure. Is that the worst thing to be redundant on? Absolutely not.
Great point. The fact that we're talking about it, I think it's a win anyway.
Absolutely,
So
right?
that's my point.
I'll go on a zero cold hour for every
Exactly.
So the thing that it did is that by buying that Algorand and why it's related to Algorand is that that's newsworthy. That they just so at the very minimum, they are losing something.
business?
Soulja Boy definitely has a checkered past in terms of business and investments. He's not picky. He's like the Nick Cage of music. Like he'll just take whatever role comes his way, and like he doesn't mind at all. I will just say about Soulja Boy, not related to crypto, but very influential in the music industry, very influential in pop culture.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say like crank that.
Crank That Soulja Boy was the.
That's like iconic, maybe. Like,
It's iconic. Iconic is influential.
what do you guys like from the music side of the house? Is that?
So you think Soulja Boy is influential?
I think Soulja Boy is a name that everyone recognizes. Anyone who's been able to have enough success to be a household name, I think is, we should applaud. Definitely when he was most relevant in the public consciousness, probably 15 years ago-ish.
I remember I was in high school cranking that Soulja Boy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
But look,
Exactly.
we like Soulja Boy. Go Soulja Boy, tell him, right? And I think it's good. And him and Lil Pump together, like I'll hear the song, I'll listen to it.
All right.
But if you crank the song over and over again, you got to understand how much money that song is going to generate. If we're talking about Spotify, it's 0.0006 cents per stream ish.
So TikTok's the way to sell music.
Tell us how you would make that better.
How would make that better? I mean, actually, the royalty flow within the music space is definitely ripe for disruption with Web3. Yes, it is.
How?
It is. Well, let me tell you more. I mean, but besides the amount of money that's generated, just the making sure that people are actually getting the money that they are meant to get is tricky. So there's a lot of money that goes in what's called the black box, when money can't find its way to the person it's supposed to go to. So there are a number of different royalty streams and royalty participants within the music industry. And I'm gonna let you talk about Spotify for a second. Within Spotify, you've got, actually, let me break it down. Within any song, there's two copyrights. There's the recording copyright, and there's the composition copyright. The recordings, and you have publishing companies that control the song, the composition. Within any given song, there are oftentimes, most times, multiple writers, which means there can be multiple publishers. For Sicko Mode, Travis Scott, for example, there's something like 30 songwriters on there because there are a couple of samples. Each sample maybe has 5 artists, 5 songwriters, tons of different publishers. It's very difficult to deal with, making sure that the data is correct so that all the different services all around the world have the exact same songwriting splits, because that money needs to make its way to the songwriter and to the publisher. The publisher will then process that money and pay some portion of that to the songwriter. So it's a huge mess. It's very challenging. And what ends up happening is Spotify, for example, maybe doesn't have all the information relating to the songwriters and the different publishers. So when they don't have the information, they send the money to the royalty societies that are supposed to then dole that out to the publishers and the songwriters. But the royalty societies, if they don't have that information, it just sits. Or they pay out money to the wrong people. And this happens all the time. It's estimated that there's, 500 million to billions of dollars in uncollected royalties that are just sitting in the black box. Because every time a song is played on the radio, on Spotify, on TV, there are royalties that are generated in every country around the world. So if I'm an American songwriter and my song is played on German radio, I'm hoping that that German radio station has enough information to one of the three major in the US, and then BMI has to have enough information to pay either my publisher or me. So we could talk a long time about the mess that is, but so let's just fix it. I mean, so here's what could happen if we wanted to think about the future and what might be possible. The beauty of Web3 blockchain is that it's all very clear. It's an immutable database, right? So once the song, here's a way it could go. A song is written, instantly the songwriters and their representatives input that information into a blockchain, and then that information is there for everyone to see and to access. So you've got Spotify, you've got all the royalty societies, you've got the TV stations, you've got everybody that can just go to one centralized database, and then the money is paid to that database and is instantly split according to the data that's there, and that would solve these. Of course, there are many challenges to that because from all the incumbents involved for sure, but then there are also political reasons why the Royalty Society became irrelevant, pretty quickly. So there's going to be a lot of pushback to this transparency, and so I think what will end up happening is somebody or a group of people will start that process, and there are many people that could start that process. I will say this is not Frequency's mission to solve in first iteration. So at first, I mean, listen, we don't know where it could go. Absolutely, what is Dequency? Dequency is going to save that answer for tomorrow. Yes, because yes, I know you almost baited me, but no. We're going to chat about it tomorrow. I'm speaking at Decipher, and I'm excited.
So as soon as something happens,
I've learned so much about inside information just from Chris. letting his words go on these calls.
Yeah, I have to be disciplined.
Yeah. We call them friend DAs.
I mean, don't you guys remember that Soldier Boy was the guy who released a song called Bitcoin, where he said, "I spent on a Bitcoin. I got Bitcoin. I got like this was like 5 years ago. Like, so it's not a surprise to me at all that he's the guy getting involved with DeFi music when he's the guy who's buying Bitcoin at 6,000, flipping it for 100K, and is literally talking about it in a song. Good song, by the way. Like actually a really good song. Now, I will say, first of all, definitely about that whole there's so many layers in the music industry of like people trying to take that little quarter of 25 cents, whatever, off the top, and it's so complex. I mean, I'm an independent artist. I upload my music to TuneCore, and then that is a Web 2 solution to get it on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, Google Play, whatever. But if I make the song with some friends and then I put them as collaborators, I don't know if they're going to get the payout. Like, so it kind of comes my TuneCore account. I'll make like $20 off the song. And then what am I going to like give $3 to like my friend who wrote half of a verse, or like $2? Yeah. And I will, and I do, but it's like, why am I now having to one have to do the accounting, 2 have to cash out, 3 have to pay transfer fees to get it to these people. And now it's like, I'm paying a transfer fee on a $2 transfer, so this person's only getting $150. And like, what is the whole point of this? Like, this could all just be like streamlined massively. Does anyone want to comment on this? Like, you guys? Jay.
Yep.
So Dequency is unwilling to say where the revolution could start. They apparently don't want to be involved in it. I don't really understand. Maybe tomorrow they'll do something. Maybe. But I think what Chris is, baiting them a little bit for is that, this is something that, as you mentioned, the publishers, they're not interested in it because it cuts them out. The royalty societies aren't interested. So that means that it's for the creators. And one of the things that we try to talk about a lot at Reach is the idea that NFTs and smart contracts in general are always about empowering end consumers to do something that they would not be able to do otherwise. So NFTs, one of the big things that they do in their resaleability is they make it so that something that you own is actually more valuable to you, because when you're done with it, you can sell it to somebody else. Similarly, you as a creator, you uploading it to TuneCore sounds like a cool site. No complaint against them. But one of the things that they're not serving for you is they're not making your life easier in this way, because they're not allowing you to really own your product yourself, to describe in detailed metaphor, to have some, cookie cutter tools to build the right kind of NFT for your, if that could even be a thing that the players be involved in as well, then that problem would be solved, of course. And the thing that's interesting about the blockchain world is that those things, benefits for consumers and benefits for creators, are things that don't involve any middlemen, right? Because the whole point of blockchain, in my mind, is that it removes that middleman, because the middleman typically only exists because 2 people can't otherwise trust one another. And so they have that middleman who they can both trust, but that trust comes at a price. And that price, as you say, makes it so that some transactions just don't happen that they would otherwise. That middleman can say, well, actually, you can only tell me about 5 royalty holders, or you can only tell me about 15. And so what happens if you have 16? Well, too bad. It goes in the black box. And so by putting that middleman in charge, it makes it so that they take a cut, and it makes it so that they can restrictions on what kinds of things that you can do. And in my mind, the big thing about the Web3 world, the blockchain world, is that self-sovereign ownership, where you as a consumer, you as a creator, have complete control about what you're building with your product and whatnot.
All right, Keely's up next.
Definitely great points by Jay. One interesting thing, the founder of TuneCore actually just came on as an advisor to Algorand. He's actually a professor at Berklee College of Music right now. My friend goes to Berklee, and I sent him this news, and he's like, yeah, that was my professor. So, which is kind of like I don't know, that was kind of a really meta moment for me. Like, oh, you've met him? George Howard? Oh, he's the co-founder of Dequency as well. Do you want to talk about that? So how is he? First of all, how's he involved in Dequency? He came from TuneCore. So I mentioned TuneCore. You knew in the back of your mind, you knew like that he had. I mean, there was a connection there.
Many things that I know, and I'm not necessarily.
So there's many things that you know. Can anyone provide a little context on how George Howard is going to advise Algorand and like what he's going to help them foray into? Anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I can say a little bit. Yeah, he's going to know. I haven't been as involved with George on that side. My understanding is George is bringing in more of the creator economy into the Algorand ecosystem is really what his role is meant to be. And I can speak more to how he's our co-founder. So he actually, I should be careful here. I'm gonna be cryptic. He had the original idea for Dequency in 2017, and he's actually one of the reasons why I'm interested in Web3 and got into Web3, and he brought the idea. So I'm CEO of Riptide Music, it's a music publishing company and record label, and I'll just speak to the centralized third-party side of things as well, because I'm definitely not a label hater or a publisher hater. I think there's a lot good that labels and publishers can do. I think many have lost their way, and it is not always good. So there's a hybridized thing that I think is really great. But discovery and services. So I mean, I'll tangent to that for a second. I'm bouncing all over. But I mean, labels and publishers get a bad rap because once a songwriter or an artist has success, then it's like, well, what do we need you for? Now you're just taking my music, you're taking my money, you're taking my rights, and you're restricting me. And what many times, that's it. Yeah, and they're put up the risk capital in the beginning, and the time and energy and blood, sweat, and tears, and opportunity cost, and they've spent the years and money to develop the relationships and resources and hire the people, and there's massive overhead, and this is how they can spend the money that they need to spend on marketing, on radio promo. I'm talking about the label side. And on the publishing side, dealing with songwriters, they've got great people on A&R and in sync departments and other places where they're very actively trying to generate more copyrights, more relationships with people, more opportunities to make money. And again, a lot of times that's forgotten in hindsight. I do think the model needs to change at some point. I'm very pro on art creators retaining as much of the copyright as they can and earning as much of the revenue as they can. I see a world where both can exist harmoniously. So
And those things can be in the contract too.
Yes.
So what you're saying is that there is a good service there, but what you're looking at the blockchain for is lowering the cost of the overhead so that still those services still exist and be provided, but a lot of that overhead that's used to be spent on just making things happen can go directly to the creator.
Yeah, that's right. And
Makes sense.
By automating the process, by making it more available for everyone to.
So you're not. So everybody's still gonna be involved. It's just that it's going to be cheaper to do things, and that cheaper part should stay with the creator.
Not necessarily.
So it could go to
Sure.
No, it's not.
Somehow
It's not your
financing
Jay.
needs to make its way to the creators.
Yeah, those are called rents, and so rents are economic costs, and those rents are the things that we're talking about getting rid of, and those rents will go on both sides of the equation: the creators, the publishers, and the consumers.
Yeah, and I mean, in the early days of creators creating, and not earning a living because they have to make the music first. If we're talking about music creators or any visual art creators, whatever, there's a period of time where they're in production mode and creation mode and idea mode, and they're not earning a living at that point, at least from that body of work. So how can they do that if they don't have another source of income? Somebody needs to finance that, and that's historically been where labels come in and publishing companies come in. That's a really cool thing about Opulus. That's a really cool thing about what Web3 can provide. That's a cool thing about what Dequency will be doing. Yeah, but anyway, so money needs to come. How's it going to come? I do think there's a hybrid model in there.
Move on.
Let's move.
All right.
Yeah.
Next topic.
Let's move on. Amazing discussion there. Decentralized music rights, just how to give creators more power, simplifying the bureaucratic process of the financial side of art. Huge industry. Next topic is Algorand. They had a launch this week. The first big fan of Algorand that reached. Chris says he's a fan of Algorand.
I like the fruity flavor.
Yeah. Different thing, Jay.
What, of gum or vape or what? So Algorand, bridge from Bitcoin to Algo or ETH to Algo at first. It's their derivatives are called Go BTC and Go ETH. Currently, the way it works is that you send those assets from the other chains to Copper, which is a custodian out of the UK, and they mint you the ASA. I saw the numbers on launch. They had about 20 Bitcoin brought over. I don't think Go ETH is live yet, but I haven't checked the numbers in the past few days, so maybe more Bitcoin has come over.
I haven't seen the volume either. Does anybody else? JT, you know?
We should check that out. So sorry for the audience. We're not fully informed on how much Go BTC has been minted. But yeah, what do you guys think of this new development? How do you think it's going to have an impact? And how do you think Algorand is going to grow? Chris is begging for the mic right now. And yeah, no, I'm going to hand it to him. But also, I just want to mention that Algorand's roadmap, they're going to bring ETH. They're going to have Go USD, which is going to be a pooled USD stablecoin for anything like Tether, DAI, USDT, any other dollar stablecoin you could think of.
Chris, let me ask him a question.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Monty real quick.
All right. So you mentioned something earlier about the middleman and maybe like control points, and I'm wondering if bridges themselves are not weak points in the system. and like, is that a is that something we should be worried about? Is the control point there, and is that too much control? They can control the flow of traffic one way or both ways, and not only, like earlier we were talking about Opulus and hey, here's what royalty companies I'm going to work with. The bridges have that same kind of power. Here's what blockchains I'm going to work with. I don't know, how do we feel about that?
Jake, talk about the bridges, centralized bridges, decentralized bridges.
Yeah. So one of my faults is that I can't answer a question starting from the question. I have to go back in time. So like the core idea of a bridge is that we have something on two sides. So there's the Algorand side and the other side, right? And especially when the other side is very impoverished, as some of these other places are. Bitcoin is probably the most clear example of an other side when it comes to the computational complexity that they have. So typically what that means is that the bridge is going to have to manage the transfer of assets from one side to the other. And the most common way that that works is a completely trusted centralized bridge. So here's a really simple. I'll tell you my Algorand account, and when you want to buy a Bitcoin, just give the money to me, and I'll buy it for you. And I'll just tell you that it's yours. And if you ever feel like it, just let me know. I'll give it to you. This is a very untrustworthy situation to be involved in because I'm just some random guy, right? And so all of these centralized bridges, in some way, that is what they're doing, except that they're not just me. They're staking a very strong reputation on their reliability going from one side to the other. Whereas for me, I'm sort of a random player out there in the world. And so if I don't have a lot of stake involved in it, it's very, it's sort of easy for me to renege. And what they try to do is they try to make a very clear reputation about how well they're doing it. They try to be very transparent about the way in which they're managing their Oracle. Because ultimately what's going to happen is that on-chain, on the Algorand side, for instance, there's going to be some secret key that's going to control the minting of the, let's say, the ASA, that's going to correspond to the bridged currency. And somebody actually controls that, and they have to promise that they won't produce more of them than they actually have acquired side. And so there's sort of the bad actor attack, which is me running off with the money. But then there's also the me being an idiot attack, where I, reveal my secret key because, I didn't upgrade OpenSSL on my server, or I put it on a server in the first place rather than having it be air-gapped. But of course, it can't really be air-gapped. Well, maybe it kind of can. There has to be some way for me to sign the transactions. Basically, there's a very complicated, architecture that has to be behind the scenes there. And if I'm going to evaluate a centralized bridge, that is the thing that I want them to do. I want them to make a really strong case for me about why, both technically, they have all their T's their T's crossed and their I's dotted. I want them to make a very strong business case for me why they're going to lose lots of money if they renege. And that's what I look for a centralized bridge. Now, there are some decentralized bridges. Mostly right now, these are targeting Ethereum and Bitcoin. And these basically, the way that they work is by synthesizing signings of private keys that correspond only to, like the entire network has a single private key that is not known by anybody in the network. It is synthesized on every signing request. And it's sort of like if blockchains were designed today, technically, they would all be designed this way. Whereas right now, blockchains essentially are all designed the same way that Bitcoin and Ethereum were. They were designed that way quite in the past. But now everybody is sort of innovating on the consensusism, innovating on the tokenomics, but they're not really innovating directly on the cryptographic primitives that they're using. And a lot of these newer decentralized bridging networks, they're focusing primarily on the bridging problem, but really what they are is they're a new kind of blockchain that has this additional feature of having the network itself able to synthesize a signing. Now, some of the researchers in the Algorand world, they're actually have an approach to extend Algorand to do this. I talked to Shai at the foundation about this one time, and he told me about his project, but I don't remember the details. So I'm sorry, I can't cite the paper. But it is something that's going on. And I do also know that, again, of interest to the Algorand world, is that there's a few of the early Algorand engineers who left and they formed this company called Axelay. And they're working with Algorand as well. And they are implementing the same strategy. So there's this general strategy of synthesizing these signings to building one of these decentralized bridges. And these decentralized bridges, they don't have the I'm an idiot attack. They don't have the, I'm a bad actor attack. But what they do have is they have a totally new network. They have totally new technical complexity. And we know, for instance, that, many of the scaling problems that Bitcoin and Ethereum had were fixed after people thought about that kind of problem for a long time and came up with new architectures on it. So similarly, there's the new way of doing, EC DSSA signing that can be sent. And there are many, many people trying to figure out, okay, what would be a good network topology for this? And all of them are really focused on building bridges. But we should really think about bridging as being an application of this ability of the network able to sign something, as opposed to its only purpose. Because, of course, one of the problems that we have right now on blockchains is that, it's not possible for me to run a computation in an algorithm
We may have lost sound on Twitter. Just addressing it real quick. If you have to my phone, you can. Are we on?
What exactly do I mean by an artifact?
But I unplugged it.
1 second. Sorry, everyone.
Okay, so so what the question was is what exactly do I mean by an artifact? What I meant is that some byte sequence that can be used to attest something. So, for example, the way that you would currently say that something happened on Algorand right now is you would say, block 4,192 or whatever, and that would be the artifact, the number of the block. But that doesn't speak for itself because you have to go back to the chain and look it up. In contrast, if we were to instead say something like a particular transaction, when you go look up a transaction on something like Algo Explorer, like what exactly are you looking at? A hash of a signed, that signed transaction.
It's like a compressed version
of a signed transaction, and that signed transaction actually has in it, Jay is giving 10 to Chris.
Can I ask a question?
So just networks, that's what they actually produce. Okay. So every step of the chain, they actually produce, here's a signed thing that you can go take and give to somebody else that is signed with a unique public key, with a unique private key for that network. Now you have a question.
For right now is a centralized intermediary before they set up that bridge. They'll have their Bitcoin held by Copper. What is Copper going to do? Just relinquish the Bitcoin? Applied 10 Bitcoin from the Bitcoin blockchain to Algorand through Copper. 6 months down the line, that bridge is active. So now there's a non-custodial way. Now, what path are my GoBTC coming through? Are they coming through the bridge, or are they coming from Copper, and then I have to bring through the decentralized bridge? Does anyone know, like, conceptually, it seems like it wouldn't be easy to take Bitcoin from Copper's key back onto, they would have to give it to Algorand or something, or it would have to be relinquished into a vault account by Algorand. What do you think?
I think I mentioned this before, that what I like to do in these situations is think about how is a similar situation right now. So there are right now funds that you can buy that are shares of gold that you don't actually. So
you don't actually own the gold.
Yeah, there's like a symbol. You can go buy this bar. So bar is a fund that is a fund of, it's an ETF of gold. Yeah. And so if you have $100 of bar, that does not mean that they are a custodian of $100 of bar for you. It means that you are using them to speculate on, or to have a stake, an investment in what the gold will be. And you can't turn your $100 into a share of their gold and say, like, I want my $100 of gold. That's not the way that the deal works out. So what I would say is, with these GoBTC things and whatnot, you should ask them, what exactly is my GoBTC? Is it a claim on your BTC assets where I can request you to give them to me? And it is almost certainly the case that they will say
perpetual future contract.
Yeah. So I don't know. But my assumption is that it would be weird for them to say, oh yeah, you can trade them in for the actual BTC. We'll send it to whatever address you want. That is very unlikely.
Okay, so sounds like a hiccup there when they reach that point. If there's Bitcoin and Ethereum held by Copper, and then the end user is probably gonna have to unravel that, and then re-bridge it back over. I guess it won't be that bad, but it's a bit of a. We'll see how they deal with that over time. Thanks for those comments. Really insightful. It's Cody here. We got Cody. We gonna make it. Used to be not gonna make it, but now we are gonna make it. Market maker, the Yieldly man. Here he just arrived. So here, man, take it.
It's a pleasure. Well, one face to one screen. How's it going, everyone? It's great to meet everyone here finally, face to face. You know, we've been having meetings for what, months now? Like
3 months at least, right?
God, it's insane. Even though I literally woke up in Pensacola at 5 o'clock this morning and literally been driving ever since. Like traffic's been absolutely insane. I'm glad to be here though.
Yeah, glad you're here, man.
Yeah.
So next topic, glitter. JT, you want to talk about?
Jay just did a whole lecture.
I know he kind of did give us a class right there. Here, I'm gonna give it to Chris. He's gonna talk.
I mean, I don't said anything about Algorand, so you can't just move on from Algorand. So I will say that Michael and Gems, we're so lucky to have them part of the Algorand. I believe they are the reason why our Australian community is so flourishing. I mean, there's so many projects coming out of Australia. So they're probably sleeping right now. So whenever you wake up and you see this, you guys are great. But to answer your question, like, is this good for Algorand having BTC and Ethereum on it?
Well, that wasn't my question. It's clearly
1,000%. It's great. And
no one's arguing if it's good or not.
but the main question is like,
the method.
sure, who cares? Like, this doesn't mean like we're gonna do this once and then we're not gonna do anything ever again. I'd like Algo Mint alone has plans for V2B. I would be, I guess that would be more and more decentralized. So that takes away a lot of the problems. But you know, everything is iterative. Like we can't jump to the Cadillac. Let's build something that actually helps right away.
Starting with a grim one.
Even the skateboard. Let's get a skateboard first. And because one of the things that you're going to see is like when more dexes come out.
He just may not have been able to see, but he gave a big eye there when he said dexes.
You're going to have a lot of arbitration between the dexes, which I think is very important for the actual the volume and liquidity. But speaking of liquidity, getting the BTC and Ethereum, which are the two largest market caps, into the DeFi space is super, super important. And however we can get them into the space as fast as we can, I don't care if it was Jay's first method. Hey, trust me. Well, we'll put something on here, just like, you know, get it on here so we can start. Algomint, obviously, way better. Algomint actually getting a grant, a Supra grant from the foundation is huge. This is all amazing news, and this is one of the legs that are needed to make the DeFi table stand.
Right.
So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, it's a super grant.
Super grant. I guess this would be a grant that's super.
That's super big.
I'm guessing it's big. Supra.
Supa. They dropped
Supa. That's German, isn't it? Supa. Supa is German for super. Is it? Well, maybe it's Italian.
I'm waiting for the Hyper Neo Turbo grant.
The Hyper Neo Turbo grants. Maybe Reach will get one of those. It was within reach. Look at this. We got puns up for days. All right, so I just want to talk about Algomint since Jay didn't at all. But yeah, so move on to the next topic.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Glitter Finance also building a bridge. I think we got JT invests in you here. I'm going to turn the camera back toward him, but he could talk about Glitter, and he's on. Yeah, that's Chris. It's for everyone who's not seen it. Yeah. So he's gonna scoot over here.
What's going on, everybody? Just gonna climb in onto this seat right here. So I figured while we were talking about bridges, we would go over to Glitter Finance. Glitter Finance, they also just recently got a grant from the Algofam. I actually recently did an interview with the CEO, David, but the audio's all messed up, so I still haven't posted that one, unfortunately. But yeah, Glitter Finance, I'll just do a quick little read real quick. Glitter Finance is a cross-chain bridge, much like Algomint. However, one of the biggest differences is they're trying to essentially allow you to put those assets that were bridged into yield pools, essentially. So back through the bridge, tokens that you originally bridged with would be greater because they'd be earning a yield through their various AI methods while you're out exploring whatever blockchain you had just bridged to. Initially, the bridges are going to bridge from Algorand before and Algorand to Polygon. So those are the first 4 bridges. I'm not as technical as or Jay here, so I don't know if anyone wants to speak on how that might. They're actually going to integrate the yields into their bridges. I'm really unsure how that happens. Anyone else want to do a quick mention on what I just said? No. Chris does not want to.
Just so you know, I heard about the project. Seems really new. Willing to give too many details so far. It's at that stage, right? So
Their IDO's coming soon, though, so there's going to be a token launch for them also.
So there's going to be a token launch before the product's out.
I think they're going to do it all at the same time. So I think it's all together at the same time. Yeah.
Definitely that, right? Bridge interoperability, one of the biggest limiting factors of blockchains right now. Larger question is that when all these bridges are created, which chain is going to be
No winner. Let's not talk about this. Too soon.
Big question though, right? It's like there's no one bridge.
The one bridge, so that's very. Yeah.
No.
Chris and I were talking about this morning, actually. Look at the normal world. The exact same thing. There might platforms actually has ditchers, so we know, like from a technical perspective, that Algorand provides markedly different features to other chains that have been mentioned as well. So in that sense, the cryptocurrencies that have smart in their normal world, and they're more like commodities. So, for instance, a commodity like wheat or rice or something. That, and you wouldn't say like they're tasty, you know what I mean, but they actually, yeah, you can make things from them, right? There's a way in which they're similar. They're very very different from one another, and we wouldn't talk about something like what is the one grain that's going to win in the world. Sure. That is just not a question that makes sense, right? Maybe if we imagine us living in the matrix, protein be but it doesn't make sense about there being one grain that's the only grain that will ever matter. And so chain, which is the one smart contract chain, all of them are going to have a value use, and because they will all provide different features, different trade-offs for being used. Right. And these are providing a fundamental service of making so that those different networks are compatible with one another. And the real question for the long run is whether a chain will for Algorand, or whether the chain advance to the point where it can be its bridge, whatever that means. For instance, where it would actually bring in the ability to bridge to other chains. I'm not saying that I know the secret of Algorand, and oh yeah, they're going to announce it. Work that way. And so in my mind, there will never be one chain. B, we don't even know if bridges are necessary. I agree with Chris that there should be as many as possible, and they'll all have different pros and cons. And what that really means is that the price of Chris BTC and the price of J BTC will be all from the real BTC price, and that is totally fine because those different prices will represent the different those different bridges, and that's totally okay.
Yeah. And I think it, you know, if we think about telecommunications, like if you have T-Mobile or BCS, it doesn't matter. You can all still call each other, text each other. This is not a problem. Oh, I can't text because he has Sprint. Like, and about those bridges, if you get Xfinity, and I get, I don't know, some other internet provider, I'm not worried about sending you an email.
They were all separate from one another.
Right. Right. So the bridges probably over time.
How many bridges did you cross flying here today? Too many. It doesn't matter because you flew. We're just gonna, boom, you're there.
Could be.
So I'm surprised Jay didn't talk about because one of the major, they are very restrictive as far as actually functionality goes. So you can bridge a token that has a singular, like very strict functionality, like trade to somebody else, and that's about it, right? That's what all the bridges do. Like you can, once they're bridged to somewhere else, I can trade back and forth. But if that token had any functionality on the original chain, it's all broke, unless you build a specialized bridge. So one of the things that we're talking about early is building a generic bridge that can take the actual functionality from the original asset and bridge the entire functionality onto a new chain. And that is the thing that I believe is I would say the V2 bridge, or let's call it V5 because it's gonna be that much better. But Eba, the other thing you're talking about is another thing that we're working on, HID, that we believe the end user shouldn't care about tokens at all. They should just care about value, and value in denominated any way that you understand value. I don't care if it's in Zorkmids, as Jay calls it. Zorkmids.
You're just saying Bitcoin, USD, whatever.
Whatever you as an individual feel like you can actually designate value. And when you start interacting with blockchain or Web3 or Web4 or whatever we're going to have, you shouldn't care which token is it going to take to do this one application. All you care is what is the value that it's going to take to operate in this application, and all of the tokens themselves are abstracted away. So if you have a Zorkmid, but the application that you want to use is, what's the other one you use? Gil. If the application uses gills, you don't care that it uses gills. You want that to be abstracted away, so it automatically converts to the Turks, and that's what Reach ID's dream is to actually provide an interface for you, so that you no longer even have to care about the token.
What if I like my Gil more than I like my Zorkmid, and I would rather sell the Zorkmid than the Gil?
I mean, so like like whatever token that you want can be the one that you have, but also, yeah, I think that we'll get to a point that'll matter less.
Converting one token to another at a spot rate, and then you're losing something in the spread.
Shay wants to talk, and I bet she'll answer this.
Yeah. So there's two questions. One is spending Gil, and what if I'm going to lose in the exchange going from Dorkmid to Gil? So here's sort of two real world examples. Do you really like spending $5 bills more than you like spending $1 bills? Maybe you don't really care. I know, for instance, that my kids really love spending silver dollars. It's really exciting for them to plunk silver dollars out. And my daughter, she loves spending dimes because she gets to have a lot of them. So you get a tooth out and they get $1, they get a silver dollar. But another kid, they get 10 dimes because it's exciting to have a whole bunch of them. Okay, so there are some reasons that you might have a particular preference for using some sort of money. But I think that many times when you say that, oh, I really like my Gil, what you're really saying is something like, well, I think that the GIL will go up in value relative to the things that I care about.
Exactly.
So in that case, what that really means is that you are going, there's another piece of value that you want to buy, another product, another site that you want to use, and that is investment. And so you want to invest in this asset that is going up in a way that you believe. And that is just an example of a product that you would buy with Reach ID, just like you might buy a really beautiful flamingo. Okay. Now, in terms of the issue of like in the trade, that is another example of it, where you might, well, I intend to use this application in the long run, therefore make sure that I always have a balance of this amount. And what you're really trying to say is you're trying to make it so that you're not exposing yourself to a risk in one currency changing a lot. So as an example of this, there was a time in my life when for my academic career, I went to Japan a lot for conferences. And so it was worthwhile for me to actually retain all of my yen, because I knew that I would be going back in a year to have to re-get the pile of coins that I had and go to the airport terminal every single time. So for me, it made sense for me to hold a pile of yen that I would just have around with me all the time. And that is and of course, people who are sophisticated currency traders, they have that same sort of situation where they need to have a pile of euros and a pile of yen, etc. And so for sophisticated people, there's many reasons to know about what exactly the currency they're using is. And I think that the fact that current crypto users have that kind of preference, DeFi users, that is a sign of the sophistication of the kinds of trades that people are using right now. Now, in contrast, when we talk about the consumer market, if I were interested in buying like iPhone or buying bubble gum or something like that, what's the currency to buy bubblegum in? Well, it's whatever currency at the corner store. And so I think that as blockchain becomes more and more closer to consumers and more end user, I think that these sorts of issues will go away and we won't worry about them so much. But of course, since Reach ID is a relatively short run product, that is absolutely something that we need to address. And we need to expose, is this what you want? For the same reason that, when I go buy something on the Nintendo store, for instance, I don't necessarily always click the button, buy exactly what I need, because I know that, I'm going to be buying Christmas gifts for the kids later, so I'll get a little bit more right now, so I'll only pay the PayPal fee one time. Right. So I think that in the short run, it's something that absolutely needs to be exposed, both because of the volatility of the exchange rates and because of the sophistication of the applications. But in the long run, if blockchain still works that way in 10 years, that is a sign of blockchain's continued immaturity, in my opinion.
And the tax laws will have to evolve.
Exactly. Keely's talking about tax laws. I can definitely tell you that there will be different prices for things based though. So like this last weekend, I got the trees trimmed at my house. And the guy, the trimmer, he comes out to the house and he looks and he's like, okay, so are you paying cash or credit? And I'm Bitcoin. Like, or Bitcoin, right? So I'm like, well, what's the difference? And he's like, well, if you cash. And so here's where I'm going with this is if somebody is going to accept Bitcoin, but they're worried about transaction fees, or if they're going to charge me $350 to take ETH, pay an algo, customer is going to choose one blockchain over the other because.
Sorry, Reach. So I was gonna say Reach, but I was looking at say Chris, but then I looked at his shirt and it says Reach, and he's just Mr. Reach over there. So one of the things about us is that we can read each other's minds. So this is what Chris was gonna say, and Keely's ear, what you're saying, and he'll tell me if I'm right. So here's what he was gonna say. Everything that you're saying is absolutely, and that is exactly what Reach ID is gonna solve for you, because you currently have some holdings, and so we're gonna figure out, okay, well, what is the best way for you to exchange? We're just going to present to you what the best rate is right now for it. So if you have this many assets ready, if you have this many, and the real that we don't know what you are going to do in a week from now or what you're going to do now. So you need to tell us in some way what you activate is going to be, because that makes it so that we can get a better estimate about whether it's worthwhile to transfer, 10 units right now or 20 units right now, because it's going to make a difference in the long run. Was I right, Chris?
Yeah, but it's not fair because you put your professor voice on and now took my credit. Yeah, I was just saying it's not fair because you put your professor voice on and then took my credit for my idea. But everybody listening, that was my idea. You heard what he said. He read my mind. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I guess one question I have is like, would it be possible for there to be a dynamic market tracking software? So let's say I have some Bitcoin, some Algo, and some ETH. Bitcoin is up the most this week. It's going to sell the Bitcoin so it in the most efficient way.
That's automatic trading.
So yes,
put money into a product and it would figure it out, and then it would deliver you your yield. How do I want?
Okay, so Chris says that is something that is very possible. I just had to ask.
He said something different. He said that that thing that you described is a complex product that someone could sell. So, and that specific product is something that like currency trading hedge funds are selling to people right now. You know what I mean? So it's not but it's not a simple product. It's a really complicated product because it's a product that basically says, I know what the movement of a currency is going to be next week. Well, guess what? If I knew what if the movement of be next week, I would be doing something different than sitting around the pool talking right now, right? So nobody knows that. People have all sorts of theories and they have and techniques that they're going to sell you, and that is a complicated thing that you could buy from people.
Right.
Yeah. Apparently, we should have brought lights.
Yeah, it seems like we should have brought lights because a few people are in shadow now, but
that's all right. About Yieldly, we got this flamingo floating around in the background.
Yeah, so I guess if we can circle back to Yieldly for a second.
Or maybe bridges on Yieldly, because that's part of the roadmap. No, it's not. They actually just got rid of their bridges. The bridges
was the least used product, so they're
like, this is our least used thing. Never mind, nix the bridges. 86 bridges.
Yep. Okay, so cut the bridge plan from the road. What do you think of that? And do you think?
Did you work in a restaurant? 86.
Yeah. No, yes, I worked in a restaurant. Yeah. What do you think of that? What do you think of Yieldly's latest announcement? And we talked before, but really want to get your thoughts on it. So I'm gonna hand this.
Well, I'm gonna have to contract to contract functionality where contracts can talk to each other. It really doesn't make sense why there has to be. There was a. Not sure if you guys ever saw. Yeah. Yeah.
You're asking, I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
That's the question that he asked earlier before you show up.
Yeah, and one is their Go token and one is their utility token. I recommend everyone go look at the fourth chart and tell me how attractive that sounds to you, because it doesn't look that attractive. Just for this token. Okay. And now their utility token has just been popping off for like AMP. You know what I'm saying?
Heard about AMP, haven't heard about Fourth.
Exactly. We only know for naturally Daisy told us and what we can get some things up his sleeve. I hope he does. You know what I'm saying? Because he will definitely get some reviews about this unless there is something that can at least correlate the two together and make it where you don't just want iYieldly or you don't just want Yieldly. You got to want both, and you got to have both are going to have to work together in some unique way for you to want to split your market cap into two different tokens.
Yeah. You're forking your market, your value.
And that's what they did with Fourth. And then I'm not sure if they're not. I watched that Fourth token close to $100 on its ICO on coin, about $14 ever since. So yeah. But like I said, there's no tell.
If iYieldly did that to my Yieldly, I'm not gonna complain though.
Yeah. But to be honest though, like we just
pay anything for your iYieldly, and you got that for free to use as a governance token to decide what new assets get added to the so what shitcoin gets.
happened. That's
not what.
literally-
That's
no,
not what.
Yeah.
happened.
That's what
Is that-
happened.
so that's
Yeah.
what killed the entire market. Is
It
that
did. I think he just said that or shut up.
No,
What?
and then what
Which
happened?
one?
Is continuously. But that's what happened is that the people that that airdrop dumped it are left there are the people that paid $100 for it and don't want it because they're a huge loss.
So you're one people that buy IU.
Yeah, I mean
That's what the problem. Well, I mean, if we're gonna talk about problem people buying things, there's more shit coins that people are buying than.
talk about
And
that.
we're actually gonna be
Daisy-
problems.
Daisy, you
want to
talk about
that? That are involved with products that are pumping shit coins. That's a legitimate problem. We're gonna talk about Yieldly. That's like, it's kind of crazy. Like we're giving a lot of negativity to people that are actually on the blockchain. They use Teal 3 to actually provide us. I'm not going to name and anybody that's messing with meme coins that don't have a legitimate project or team or any goal outside of to pump and dump involved. And I look at you less if you're doing that and then you're pumping that on your Twitter and you're using your community value to scam people. And there's a lot of people doing it. A lot of them are going to be at Decipher.
You tweeted
If
about
you
Akita?
if you tweeted about it, you're involved.
Let me see this. Speak for yourself. What's going on?
I'm gonna speak to myself because yes, Akita totally a meme coin. I tweeted about it because it was the first real volatile, crazy move on this new site called Tiny Chart. I was trying to bring attention to Tiny Chart.
That's
Huh?
another problem. So they stole Tiny's token.
They didn't steal it.
Yes, they did.
Tiny Man could have.
So I know this more.
Let me wait. Hold on.
They have a terrible
Daisy,
problem.
Daisy, let me finish before, and I'll hand it back to you. Okay? I tweeted about Akita one time because I wanted to expose people to the new site that let people see charts based on Tiny Man tokens, which I don't think many people at the time even knew about at all. At least, like, I don't really care about Akita because I don't even have any.
You made the money off of it.
Yeah, but honestly, I'll tell you, I sold like 2 days ago when it was down massively, so it didn't really make that much. So to be fair though, I'll just say
Personally calling you out on that, by the way.
no, but
I think that was an in-person subtweet right there.
and it's okay. It's okay. A little in-person sub, that's fine with me because that's fine to call whoever you want out. Like we need answers. Tiny Chart, not Akita, and I will say just at least in Akita, they just said they're a meme coin. They didn't say they have any utility. They said we are a meme coin. So what? I think at least if you're open with it, and if you're open with it, I say this is the real problem. If you launch a meme coin or a shit coin, and you say this is it, and people buy it, that's their own risk. The problem is the Algorand Foundation verifying this coin, like it now has some type of project and backing or like roadmap, and that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair to people getting in, looking at it now. Yeah, Akita got a check mark. So
I didn't even realize that.
Tiny Chart just get the
I
tiny check
I
mark.
got some comment
I'm
on
pretty
that.
sure Tiny Chart just got verified with the tiny cash bags.
And just with those kind of marketing tactics is how I'm going to refer to all those and stuff like that. You know, like I'm sure Daisy remembers when Dean came into them getting a staking partnership with Yieldly and stuff like that. And Daisy, some guy that works for Akita. It's like I made a whole long post about him. He originally told me he founded this NFT project and he wanted to shill it in my Telegram. It's called History of War, and it was really interesting. It's like you can get like a holographic Hitler and stuff like that. I'm like, that's cool. Let's bring this in.
Maybe not Hitler. Maybe
but you catch what I'm saying. You know, we were making it into memes when he told us, and it was just kind of fun. I thought for a long time I thought he owned this project because he told me he did. And then one day he showed into my Telegram, my Yieldly Telegram, like unannounced. And then he was saying, hey guys, I'm trying to work with Yieldly now. We should have staking live soon. No promises, all this. Like while Akita was like at its peak.
Right, to try to fuel the fire.
Yeah, just because I guess you could see, it's not that hard when you start watching the dump happen. And I'm pretty sure he was just trying to do whatever he can to hold it up, and that made me really mad. And that was really shady, tactic features, especially since months ago, and we got to see any Akita staking yet on Yieldy. So
for sure. I think we got like a 10-minute warning. Just after.
Yeah, well they try to say if someone goes, I want to see proof. Yeah, and then he
10 minutes.
Should we wrap it?
Yeah, we should
yeah
wrap it.
yeah.
Well, I got stuff to say.
We're gonna hand it to Chris.
Yeah, I think he was joking.
You don't have stuff to say?
I
mean, I would think. Yeah, sure. I'll give it to Jay.
Before the vicious attack from Daisy about meme coins.
Thanks for stopping in. Yeah, thanks. Everybody say bye, Keely. Bye, Keely. Bye, Keely.
So before the conversation about meme coins, I just want to go back to something that Daisy said, which was very wise, which is that us talking about all of the problems or not problems with iYieldly is an example of like experts being shown something and trying to think about all of the problems, and that is just like the expert curse.
Turn that light back on.
And the expert curse is always to say, well, what is the critical things that I can find? Because if you are closely connected with somebody, it feels like criticizing is a way to help them improve. But it has to be understood that you're coming at it from that angle, and it's very hard to not hear it as here are all these problems. Here we're saying all, and that is not the way that I felt about the conversation at the very beginning when we started about iYieldly. It was more of a question about what exactly does this mean? What is going on? Is a search for understanding as opposed to that is not the way that we're coming at it at all.
More like, is it needed? Like, and we have yet to really see why it's needed, though.
But I'm not asking why it's needed.
And I'm not asking the question why it's needed at all. Like, I'll echo what Jay just said, just to make sure it's very, very clear. It's let's do this, but I'm going to ask questions these things.
Right.
Like fully supportive Yieldy. If like you guys know, if I can help you in any way, I'm there for you. You already know this. So the same thing.
Chris wants to help you in any way. He'll make me there for you.
And then I'll make Jay also help. So the main thing here is like, we're here to support you and do awesome things and just ask questions purely to make sure that you ask the question. Now you probably already asked all these questions and you have the answer for these. We're just asking them too.
I mean, everyone here wants all these projects to succeed, right? Everyone wants Yieldy to win. Everyone wants Algorand to win. Everyone wants Reach to win. But we're also here to play the role of the questioners, one who may not have the opportunity to with those in the know. Yeah, I feel like the people sitting around this pool right here, we are privy to some information that not everyone can get. So it's really important for us to try to share everything we can, which is how we need to establish trust with the people listening to these calls. And just because we're questioning doesn't mean we're not going to involve ourselves with iYieldly. It's more like a question, just like questioning Akita. Yeah, very valid questions.
I don't think those are equivalencies.
Well, to be honest, I'm not gonna get too much of my iYieldly because when the hardware wallet came out, I got rid of my old wallet, I deleted all the contracts. Like, won't need this wallet anymore, even though it has all my activity and time on it. I heard that.
All right, I think that we got about 8 minutes left here before we got to wrap up. But there's two things. Number one, playing devil's advocate is definitely cool. Like I enjoy that.
I gotta go to dinner.
Yeah, all right.
Dinner's at 6:30.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna meet these guys for dinner too.
We have a dinner appointment.
18
minutes.
Before we go check out citrus.com. CITRUST. It's a website that will let you, the community, rate projects. So like crowdsourced feedback, which is awesome. And then we got JT here. JT, do you still have time to talk about real estate stuff?
I think I don't know.
Minutes, but
Yeah, I think we got to wrap up.
I think everyone's wrapping us.
All right. Well, go check out City Funds. All right.
We could do another one. Decipher or something. Yeah.
We definitely can. I mean, we got the place till Tuesday. So, all right. Oh, all right. We've got Humble here. Dr. J.
We reach our user testing humble at Decipher.
Well, yeah, thanks for everyone for sticking around. This this is a really interesting call. Definitely new to get all these technical aspects.
The jam going on in the
Yeah.
back.
Might be able to hear the music in the background, so I think that's kind of our key. Yeah, so everyone stay. Right, it feels like we're in Miami with the Spanish music in the background. Stay tuned for Decipher. Is going to be some cool news, I'm sure, coming out soon. Tomorrow is when it starts. Everyone who tuned in, thanks so much. This has been the Algofam chat.
Yeah.
For Sundays, first and